Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast. Okay. Can you see how much better my hair is today? No, I'm asking the audience. Drew's over on the other side. Our producer is back with us today. And so make sure that any questions you have, put a cue in front of them, and he'll make sure to share it with me. We also check all of them after the broadcast has ended live, and you still have access to the replay of it. So, yes, today was so much better. Yesterday, because we had to be out early, I tried to dry my hair, and by the time I got done, I felt like a large dandelion that had gone to seed. Today is a much better day. And what are we going to be talking about today? Well, today is how to break through the blocks, the money blocks that are holding you back from your next level of prosperity. Now, prosperity shows up in several different ways. One of the ways that it shows up is going to be with money, but it's also going to show up in your health. Remember how we talked yesterday? We can look at someone and be able to see how they feel about themselves based on how their body is moving and what it's doing for them. It will also show up in your relationships. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And it will also show up in how many opportunities do you have in your business, as well as tapping into that undeveloped potential, which is what we covered in the very first class, is that you have a wound that you keep going back to, thinking that if you mess with it a little bit more, you're going to be okay. And you're not. You actually need to be stepping up into another level of success. And that's what we're doing. We're building on the previous master classes and then moving into your next level that's going to show up in your money, because prosperity, while it reveals itself in all areas of your life, typically where it is the most abundant is going to be in your time and in your bank account. So I'd like to hear from you. What does prosperity living mean to you? How do you know when someone is prosperous? How do you know when life is working for you? So, give me a drop down below and share with me what prosperity means to you. By the way, as a bonus, you received the 4 money personalities and the positive and negative on each side. So we're going to also be looking at that a little bit later on. And if you haven't had access to that, well, go to drewdawnferguson.com/live. Not only will you get access to all of these trainings, the replays, because they're up through this Sunday and then they come down, but you'll also get access to the bonus material that is assisting you in taking yourself to the next level for each class. Okay, so love to know what prosperity living means to you. Let's talk about money in particular. Money is simply energy, but you've learned to make it something else. You've learned to make it either love or power, control, or the ability to get attention. Money can be used for all of those in a very healthy way. But When you have a lack of money and a lack of prosperity in your life, what's really going on is you've made yourself the victim of each of these. You don't have money, so you don't have the power. You don't have money, you're not going to be able to get the assistance that you need. You don't have money, so the love that you want to be able to show to your family members, doing the different things for them, taking them to different places, well, you just can't love them the way you want to. And that's what causes challenges. Because yesterday we talked about the triad of the victim, the bully, and the hero. And when you don't have enough of something, you've moved into that victim status. Okay. So what do you need to do to begin to break through to what's on the other side, that prosperity living that we were talking about? By the way, if you have any questions, again, Q is for questions, and you also want to mark down hashtag AHA, either live or on the replay, with something that you're like, that gives me a new insight. That's an action I plan on taking. We will wrap this up with a plan of action for you today. But hashtag AHA. Why is this important? Because what you write down becomes part of your identity. Right now, prosperity and the level that you can be living it at is not part of your identity, which is the reason why you have it hit or miss. So when you write down those ahas, not only does it upgrade your identity, but it also allows us, Drew and I, to reward that identity upgrade, because you will only keep a level of success in the beginning as long as the subconscious mind, which runs all of your habits and patterns, and success or failure is simply a habit and pattern, the subconscious mind must be rewarded for those upgrades to keep your momentum moving. Approximately 91 days. We tell people, give yourself a pat on the back every 2 to 3 weeks for approximately 13 weeks, 3 months. It's giving yourself a paycheck for continuing your progress. Well, we want to start you off on the right foot. So when you do a hashtag AHA, we pick a daily winner, whether it's live or it's in the replay. And then out of all the ahas that are also registered, remember how I said that go to drewdawnferguson.com/live. Out of all the ahas for the people who are registered, we're going to have one grand prize that we're going to give after this 5-day challenge has ended. So that's going to be rewarded next Monday. Replays are going to be up through Sunday. Okay. So again, money is simply energy. It's like air. You don't look at, oh, I shouldn't breathe because there's not enough air, and I want to make sure that someone else has the ability to breathe, so I better hold mine for a while. Hey, goddess, back at you, Mary. Thanks for joining us today. So money is like air. It is available to everyone in the same amount, but you have been conditioned to hold yourself back. So you're seeing it as a limited resource to where, oh no, I shouldn't breathe because if I do, someone else isn't going to get what they need. So to be able to move forward in your prosperity living, you need to know where you are right now with your identity, because most people try to start someplace that they're not. Oh, yes, I want to activate my leader status. But you still happen to be down in the employee mindset of certainty that someone else needs to take care of you. Or maybe it's taking responsibility, that you have created a lot of drama in your life not because it's your fault. Remember, you've been conditioned and programmed to do it, but you've created a lot of drama in your life because it's a way to control others. It's that whole variety of emotions. And when we don't know what to do with our emotions, we're going to dump them on someone else. So you want to go back to the core four, those first four levels that we talked about in your training on day one. And you want to say, what level am I at? And then compare it to the four types of poverty and prosperity money personalities that you got today. So look at where you're at, but then we're also going to be looking at where you want to go. But before we can do that, our next step is, where do you stop yourself based on your money personality? And where you stop yourself based on money and abundance is going to be the same way you stop yourself with love, the ability to receive without having to work harder and longer. You'll stop yourself in the same place. So we want to move into now what is known as your terror barrier. So for your terror barrier, you want to take a piece of paper and you want to draw a line down at the bottom. And that line down at the bottom is you, where you're at right now with your money personality. And at the top of the paper, I want you to draw a line that says achievement, success. You might fill in with a result, a dream that you want to turn into your reality. So now we've got a space in between where you are right now and the results that you want. Well, anytime there's a space, the subconscious mind says, I got to fill it. I've got to put something in there. And so you're going to fill that space with your identity. So now I want you to draw an arrow that only goes up about 1/4 of the page. So draw an arrow going up to the top to those results that you want, because it's your identity that's going to get those results. So draw a line going up, and about 1/4 of the way, and then I want you to stop it, and now I want you to put just a few dashes across like that. That's going to impede that arrow from going any higher. See, what happens whenever you start to do an identity upgrade is that your subconscious mind wants to go back to its familiar zone, which is the lowest level you've got available to you, your current set of results. It wants to stop you and keep you in what's known as the familiar zone. Some people call it the comfort zone. There's nothing comfortable about being stuck and struggling. 80% of who you are was accepted by age 8. This is simply what you've been familiar on your conditioning. And once you've been conditioned to something, you have a piece of you known as your RAS, your reticular activating system. And your reticular activating system's job is to find everything in your environment to support your emotionally dominant thoughts. See, most people just try to change their mind. Well, you've got to change the emotions that are behind the thoughts that you have in your mind. Doesn't mean the fear is going to go away. It means that you've learned how to capitalize and get momentum with that fear, because fear is simply energy that is ready to be used. We talked about yesterday, you can actually be used as energy for fulfillment, bringing you out at your very best. But the mind needs to be reprogrammed and reconditioned. The great thing about the subconscious is that anything that's been learned can be relearned. So you're just going to relearn how to use it. And again, if you have any questions on what I'm covering, just put a Q and then write out what your question is, or put a Q and ask for a private chat, because I know sometimes we don't always want to put things out for everybody to see. So Drew and I will reach out to you privately and see how we can assist you. And hashtag aha, anything you come across where you're like, that's giving me a greater level of awareness to step into more of my prosperity, and we'll be able to reward that by picking a winner. So let's go back to the terror barrier. So the reticular activating system's job is to find everything in your environment to support your emotionally dominant thoughts. Now, your thought is you have a result that you want to experience, but you haven't optimized the emotions behind it just yet. So you're stepping out of your familiar zone and it's getting a little uncomfortable. And the subconscious mind is going to find things that are going to cause you to question whether or not you should keep moving forward. Is this really the right time? Do I have the resources? Do I have the backing? But you decide to keep going. So now I want you to continue on with your arrow going straight up about another fourth of the way. And then you want to stop it. And now instead of just having a dotted line that goes across, it's more of a solid line that's going to go across. Now, this is when the subconscious starts having things fall apart in your environment. It's not just your emotions. It is more of your life. Maybe the refrigerator breaks down, or there's problems at work. Significant other gets sick. One of the kids starts rebelling. You're going, you know what? I am really beginning to doubt that I should be moving forward on whatever it is that you've got as results at the top. I am really beginning to doubt that this should be happening. Now, 80% of people will stop at this point. Now, I'll tell you what they do when they stop. 20% continue on. If you're here, you're probably one of those 20%ers. So you decide to move on and draw one more arrow going up. But now what's stopping that arrow, because you're about 3/4 of the way there, is just this chaotic line of everything. And this is when you fall apart. This is when your health suffers. This is when you no longer are feeling like you have any power or any control. You are a victim of everything that is happening. And you quit. Well, almost everybody quits. 2 to 3% keep going. See, what happens for that 97 to 98% that quit and stop? You run back to the dysfunctional side of your core 4 that you're familiar with when it gets too hard. And that's when you're the victim, that you don't have the power, you don't have the love, you don't have the control, you don't have the attention. You have to sacrifice yourself. You have to save somebody else, because you were conditioned in the very beginning of maturing to make life easier for others. Okay, that's what you're going to go back to. Now, that 2 to 3% that continue on, that last 1/4, what they do to move through that 1/4 and then get the result that they want is they pick a different identity that they're going to upgrade to. So maybe you've been stuck in the control level. where, it's a lot of drama. You got to work so hard for so little. And on your sheet, let's see, if we go to the control level, which is drama freedom, life is so complicated. It is easier to give away than to have anything for yourself. Success in any area of your life just slips through your fingers. You begin to feel like, I just need to take advantage of the moment instead of looking at long term, because nothing ever works out for me. So at least I can feel better right now with just a little bit of something. That goes back to that self-esteem and how you feel about yourself and your body image that we talked about yesterday. So instead of, maybe I'm just using control as an example, maybe you need to be in the level of love. See, you run to the dysfunction you're familiar with, and I'm asking you to go to a completely different level. And it doesn't always mean up on the core four. It might mean you going down, but that there's a level that holds your magnificence that is underdeveloped. And that's when my clients, when I'm working with them, will say, ask me to do anything but that. Ask me to do anything but give up what I'm comfortable with. I had someone who needed assistance on breaking through to her next level of success. And I knew that she was really limited in the area of having resources. So I gave her an option to where she could still get access to what she needed, not direct access to me per se, but in more of a group setting, to where she could get some assistance. But that meant she was going to have to ask for help. Guess what? Ask me to do anything but that. No, I'll do it all on my own. And 30 days later, the very thing that could have helped her with her breakthrough of the amount of money she had in her life, she was going, I just can't do it because I'll have to ask others for help. And I'm going to do it all on my own. Oh, we've got a little bit of replay going in the background. Okay, Drew got it. So ask me to do anything but that, which is moving beyond how you've been currently a victim of money. Remember, money is simply energy that you've made into something else. Love, power, control, attention. And I'm not saying you can't use money for that. You can use money for power. Don't you think the people that have the ability to make sure others empowered are the ones that should have the finances to fund those programs? Or what about being able to do those things that you want for your family? You can show them love through money. Or what about that attention? You get attention because you're healthy, because you've got the finances to be able to fund your health and wellness program. Or using it as ability to control. And when I say control, not in a negative way, but control by offering people multiple choices. You know, when you're stuck and struggling yourself, it's either yes or no. You have the finances, then you can offer the people multiple options on how they can engage you. I'll give you an example. I was taught not to ask for what I wanted. We only went on family vacations 3 times, I believe, as I was growing up. So it was a number of years that my mom and dad would save for those vacations. But there was an unspoken rule in our house that if I would ask for something, it meant my younger siblings, who were younger than me by 5 to 7 years, if I asked for something, it meant my siblings would go without. It didn't necessarily mean that that was the truth, but that was a belief that was perpetuated. And so when we'd go on these vacations, I remember my brother and two sisters running around the gift shops of the different places we would visit, just grabbing junk off the shelves. Mom and Dad, buy this for me. And I'm standing over to the side going, no, I don't need anything, because being older, my tastes were going to be a little bit more refined. And I was afraid that if I asked for something that maybe was a bit too much, my siblings wouldn't be able to get the enjoyment of having what they wanted, which was crap toys that were typically broken before we ever got back home. I was afraid that if I asked for more air to breathe, others wouldn't have the air that they needed to exist. I continued, remember how we talked about the RAS? I continued to find people, places, and things as I moved through my adult years that would reinforce that early belief. Don't ask, because it takes away from someone else. That was the one thing. Don't tell me that's what I have to do. And that's where I would stop myself in my terror barrier whenever I was trying to move into a level of leadership. I would go back down to that level of certainty to where I'll be okay based on the opinion of others. That was mine. I don't know. I wonder what yours might be, because it's never about the money. It's what the money means to you. It's the story you've wrapped around the money. I'll give you another example. I was working with a woman a number of years ago who was going into business, needed her professional license, and she could only take the test 3 times for her professional license. She had already taken them 2 and failed miserably. Well, hypnosis is phenomenal for helping people with memory recall. I never suspected that there might be a reason why she had already failed the test twice. Now, with the level of advanced skills that Drew and I have, when we see somebody who's failed at something more than a couple of times, we know that there's something else going on underneath. Okay. So I had no idea. I just thought, she's having some challenges with her memory. So I hypnotized her for the recall and the test taking. Session went fabulous. She's getting ready to leave after we wrapped up. And as she's walking out the door, she stops, turns to me and says, "Oh, I guess I have a decision to make now." And when she said that, I got a sinking feeling in my stomach. It's like, okay, what's the decision? She said, whether or not I stay in my marriage. Said, well, I've got another client coming in about 5 minutes, but can you give me just a little bit more information? And she said, well, for the past year, I've been going back and forth. Should I stay or should I go? And I haven't had a clear answer. Now, here's a bonus tip for you. Anytime you're in a confused state, it's simply because you have 2 identities that are pulling against each other. The one that is familiar, that you were programmed and conditioned to experience, and the one that is calling you to bring out your magnificence and your brilliance. So she's like, yeah. And whenever I decided to go for this professional license and start this new chapter of my life, my husband told me, great, I'm thrilled that you're doing this because I want to quit my job and have you support me. And then she gave me a kind of funny smile and left. I had a feeling that she was probably going to fail that test because it had nothing to do with the professional license, and everything to do with what she felt was her victimization through love and power and control and attention, that if she stepped into this next level of her life, someone else was going to gain all of that and she was going to lose. Well, she called me about a week later from the parking lot where she took her test, and you guessed it, she failed. But she was okay with it. She was actually feeling pretty good. I'm like, I expected tears, because when you called and made the appointment, it was from when you had failed the test. The second time you were out on the parking lot and you reached out to me and said, can hypnosis help? Here you are the third time. You've failed. You can't take it now for another year. And yet you sound upbeat. What's up? And she said, it wasn't until I stopped in the doorway of your office as I was leaving and said, oh, I have a decision to make, that I finally realized why I failed the test all along. It's because of what passing the test meant to me, and it was something I no longer wanted to live. Now, the story has a happy ending, because she contacts me a couple of years later. It's like 2 or 3 years later. She's in a new relationship. She is ready to, she's in a relationship where she felt like they were equals. The person that she was in a relationship with had their professional license in the area that she wanted to go into. She's like, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to pass the test. I said, you know what? From everything that you're telling me, because of the people in your environment right now, you don't need me. And she's like, oh, you know what? That's the difference between the people who struggle in my industry and the people who make the executive council. We have a tribe of mentors. We have a tribe of advisors. I do need you. See, it's never about the money, because it's actually about what you believe is true about you. And it's what you believe is true about you and who you're identifying with. Because she was identifying with her husband, the first one, and what passing the test would mean to him, but it meant reinforcing a part of her personality out of the core four that she no longer wanted to experience. She got around someone who said, I will, and I think I noticed that maybe I'm hanging up a little bit, but I've been told before that when I hang up, the audio's still good. No, I'm all right? Cool. Producer's telling me we're good. By the way, Drew is going to be joining us tomorrow for our relationship training, where we're going to take this even further, and that tribe and those mentors that you want to be surrounded with. But she was now identifying with someone who wanted to see her as a success in that second relationship, not because of what they were going to gain from it, but because it was a revelation of more of who she was. The quality of your life will never increase if you continue to try to overcompensate in the core four area where you will never be good enough. It's what you were trained and conditioned to do for others, but it is never going to bring you the results that you're looking for, those dreams turned into reality. You have an underdeveloped level of brilliance and magnificence out of the core four. This is where you want to look at the four money personalities, because up to this point, I've been talking about how you have been overcompensating in your familiar zone that is never going to get you where you want. And it's what keeps stopping you 3/4 of the way to your goal. Because when you stop, then you go back down to overcompensating again. Now I want you to look at, out of your money personalities that you have, I want you to start looking at it and say, what is the level that you should be operating from? Now, it's still going to have its challenges. There is still going to be a decay side as well as a growth side. We covered that in the Seeds of Your Magnificence yesterday. But whenever you have decay and it's an area of your level of leadership, you're able to learn from it. You know, people say, oh, find the silver lining, or, you know, always look for the good in a bad situation. You can't do that when you continue to overcompensate for other people, places, and things in your life. There is no silver lining. That just reinforces more of the dysfunction. So when you're operating from the level that holds that final piece for your growth, and you do have something that doesn't work out, now that is a lesson that you can learn from and actually utilize in moving forward. But these prosperity upgrades are a social activity. Seeds have to be planted in the right environment. We talked about the seeds of your beliefs yesterday, that you continue to produce what you've already got based on your beliefs about you. And then you've got the beliefs about what it is that you want. And then you've got the beliefs about who you're supposed to move into being, that next level of your identity that is supposed to be revealed. This is a social activity. Learning in a way that brings about wisdom and revelation of living leadership, living legacy, cannot happen in a vacuum, which is the reason why a course that it's on its own, or a book, or watching even these videos, it can give you insight, but it's never going to take you to your next level of success. I want to make it easy for you to be able to engage us in that environment that you need to be able to move into what's great about you. So we have Vista. Vista is a 2-day mastermind where you are going to be surrounded by other peak performers that are all seeking the same thing, identity upgrades, but they're all coming at it from different levels. So that way they're able to spark and inspire and ignite your passion for what you're capable of, because you have blind spots that they do not. And then you're able to assist them in the same way, which is the reason why we keep Vista to just 9 attendees. It is all about personal breakthroughs and life leadership. Now, babe, can you see my screen? Is it scrolling down? Okay. Okay. So on Vista, here's where you can go to get more information. DrewDawnFerguson.com/Vista. By the way, do not put www in front of it because it's an HTTPS. So just DrewDawnFerguson.com. But when you go there, you're going to see that you actually have 3 dates available for you. It's going to be live because we need in person for that social environment to ignite the passion that is going to start producing results. We're even giving you the ability to bring a guest for free. And you have easy pay plans based on the date that you've picked. Now, if that's not where you want to start for whatever reason, if you look, you do have where you can work with me privately in a session And I am giving you the bonus of our most comprehensive course that we have ever put together called Wealth from Within. This is a value of $794. You will get it today. This is only for today. This will expire either tonight or tomorrow morning whenever I get around to getting back into the website to change it. So this is only for today. You get that course and a private hypnosis session that can be held virtually for an investment of $397. Again, Vista is meant to give you the vision that's been lacking in your life. You know, people without vision perish, but also inspiration. How are you going to be able to optimize those emotions we talked about that continue to hold you back? But it's going to give you a strategy and tactics to reveal who you really are, not just now, but a strategy and tactic that you continue to use lifelong for the achievement, the dreams turned into reality that you're looking for. All right. Now we're going to move into your plan of action. You always need to end with a plan of action. You may be working with other coaches or mentors who are assisting you. And if they're not giving you a plan of action, steps that you're going to take to continue the progress that you started, then you've got a challenge, because the subconscious mind gets overwhelmed. Remember, it operates between the ages of 8 and 12. Average it out, we have a 10-year-old. 10-year-olds can't figure out what their next step is supposed to be. So if you don't come up with a plan of action when you're working with someone, if they don't give it to you, you'll go right back to your familiar zone of overcompensating. And then all the mentoring, all the leadership that was just inspired, all the identity potentials that were put into the environment that could start to give you progress. Now, it's like planting a seed and then pull it right back out of the ground. Is it growing yet? Okay, so your plan of action. Step number 1, where do you stop yourself? Step number 2, how has quitting when you go for those dreams made you the dysfunctional victim? And then maybe how do you have to turn into the dysfunctional hero? And what level of your identity out of those core 4 is calling you out? It's what's asking for realization. It's not enough for just awareness now. We need to be taking steps to turn this into your reality. All right. Post your ahas so we can say, well, who's going to win? And what we're offering today on the AHA is going to be the prosperity course. It's not going to be the private session with me, but we will gift one winner the prosperity course. Wealth from Within is what it's known as. Also, if you have any questions, make sure to mark a Q before those. And if it's a question that you want answered privately, let us know that, and we'll also reach out to you. So until we get together again, what does prosperity living mean to you? It's waiting for you. It's already here in your environment, both internally and externally. You just haven't been able to see it because you've been facing the wrong direction. You've been looking at your past that's been perverting your potential and your progress of today. Let's get you turned around and not just looking forward, but looking up to your next level.